All right, well, let's try that again. Ay. This is actually my second time recording the second part of this video after the client inexplicably closed down when I was about 6 turns further along and 8 minutes into the second video. I hope it cooperates this time, but when we last left off, I was in the process of trying to skip past a bug stage of the game in order to show you the second half of this amazing budget Nin versus Ezuri game. And on the turn that I was scrolling through before, I drew a repulse, and then the client coughed up an Abrade instead of a Kefnet the Mindful, which of course was not the card that I drew. It was this guy, not Abrade. And from that point on, the replay was screwed, and it just ran out all the time on the clock and ended it. And you guys didn't get to see the second half of this. But I managed to pace through the game by fast-forwarding at the right time to skip past the screwed-up turns, and it's worked out again. And hopefully the replay will cooperate. I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit here, because at the 8-minute mark, this replay just closed when I was in the middle of describing what was going on, and I couldn't get it back. So I'm going to try again, hopefully keep the energy levels up. Thanks for bearing with me, and I apologize for my exasperation at the end of the last video. I was extremely pissed off to narrate 22 minutes of a video and then have the replay bug anyway, even though I was trying to get past it. But as you can see, I got the correct card in my hand this time, and all is well. So here we go. So on that turn, I top-decked Repulse, and pretty much the perfect card because I don't have any red removal that can kill off a creature with 2 green mana and Ezuri available. So the Repulse allows me to return the Priest of Titania back to his hand. You can see it. Well, actually, I'm not sure where it went. It would be in the log. But anyway, I bounced the Priest of Titania back to his hand, drew Kefnet the Mindful, and I have Counterflux waiting in the wings to stop the Priest on the way back out. And so Kefnet is a newest addition to the deck. Got me really excited when I first saw it and didn't really have a chance to test it out. I wasn't sure if it would be good enough to make the cut in my main non-budget deck, and it was too expensive to play in budget, so I didn't have the option to use it. But very recently, I was overjoyed to find that it dipped below the $2 price point, which means it has a very rightful place in this deck, replacing the Commander Sphere. And having played with it quite a bit, I'm actually pretty sure that it belongs in my non-budget deck too. It is just totally insane. The 5/5 flying indestructible body, which is quite easy to activate between either the creature itself or with your commander, and is good enough. And the fact that it's indestructible and you can just shoot it indiscriminately with Nin for as many cards as you want without destroying it is another extra bonus. It just kind of does a lot of the things that Nin really wants in a creature. Very compact, cheap to play. It's just all around an amazing, amazing card. So very happy to have it. So we're going to continue on in this game. He just played, I think he played the Harbinger last turn, and he's just going to come over and smash me for 4. This is after I repulsed this guy, which was absolutely critical, because if he had 5 green mana off of his Priest of Titania right there, that would have been enough to overrun these guys. They're all elves, and you can just add up the damage there. This would be 5 there, plus an additional 7 there, which is just ridiculous. That's 12. Plus 6 more would be 18. Plus 5 more is 23, and I was only at 21 life. So I'd be basically dead on board had I not drawn the Repulse, which was extremely timely. Sorry I couldn't have a buildup of drama to that. But anyway, he's replaying his Priest of Titania. I'm going to, of course, Counterflux this. And that really improves my odds a lot in the game. He still has 5 mana available along with 2 mana elves that are all 2/2s underneath Winter Orb, but I've got 4 mana available through my artifacts as well as a fair amount of lands untapped. So I'm not feeling too hopeless here, despite the fact that he's actually just a turn away from killing me with an overrun, given the fact that he's got 2 green here plus these 2 guys, although I guess he has to tap them, so if he has to tap them, they can't attack as well. Gives me at least 1 more turn. And then I draw the Frost Titan, which is an incredibly timely thing to pull. Not only is this 6/6 body that he can't interact with super strong, but it gives me the ability to tap his lands down and slow him further and deter him from attacking, plus a very, very big fat body to shoot with Nin if I ever get some openings, because I do have all this superfluous mana. This is where I feel bad about not naming red on my Cold Steel Heart, and I haven't drawn a mountain, so the Star Compass only makes blue. If I had named red here, that would have given me just the ability to shoot with artifact mana alone to draw 2 cards a turn. Plus, if I just tap the Temple, that would draw 4 a turn, and I would likely draw into another land there to make up for the fact that just the Temple untaps. So I'd be hitting a land drop every turn and looking good. But I did not name the right color there. Regardless, I can tap down the forest and be solid here. Let me go back to his turn. Feeling a little bit better, but again, he's got so much mana available between his guys that it's just a matter of time before he's able to do a lethal overrun on me if I'm not able to interact with the board. And then he really complicates the situation by playing Quirion Ranger, which not only has the ability to reset lands under the Winter Orb, but also allows him to double use one of his mana dorks. And suddenly the threat of overrun got a lot closer, really, and in a very high-pressure situation here. And I've got to draw something good. Okay, I draw Mind Stone. It's not the worst thing in the world because it's more mana. But I realize this is the moment where I have to pull the trigger on Muddle the Mixture. I've been holding this card for so long throughout the whole game, waiting for their ideal target. I don't have a red sweeper to tutor for, as I mentioned before, but I do have a red removal card, which will allow me to kill Ezuri, because as long as Ezuri is in play, he's going to be able to regenerate all these elves. I'm not going to be able to kill any of them, and I'm going to be underneath the threat of dying to an overrun at any time. So with that in mind, regretfully, I have to transmute my Muddle, and I'm going to go get a Braid. These are all the other choices left to me. I looked at this Legacies Allure earlier in the game, thought about it for a little bit as far as a target with Muddle, but I realized I never really had enough time to play that and build up enough counters to steal a 2/2 Priest of Titania. It would have just taken too long to do all that under Winter Orb. It's just too much blue mana, so I couldn't afford it. But the Abrade will suffice for now. I'm going to pop the Ezuri off the Guildgate after using the colorless mana to play a Mind Stone. So I do have 5 colorless mana, and he does an interesting play here, which I'm not sure I agree with, but he commits a bunch of extra green mana through all of his creatures. Of course, he untaps the forest, which makes sense given that I don't think he has any in play. But he gives all of his guys regeneration shields before it goes away, and this prevents me from really attacking with Frost Titan. If I were to attack, he would just triple block, and I would, I guess I could tap one of these, but he would block with 3 guys. I'd lose the Frost Titan, he'd draw 2 cards, and his other guys would regenerate, so that's not going to work. I'm just going to have to say done. I'm not sure if that was worth the precious green mana for him to do that, but clearly he feels like he doesn't need it. So he replays the land, he just bounced to his hand, and he plays Fierce Empath, which is kind of an interesting card to see in an elf deck. You wouldn't think that he would have a lot of targets for that, but I guess he's playing with something big. Maybe I guess you can't play Primeval Titan, that's banned from this format. Instead he gets Duplicant. Alright, so now suddenly this Frost Titan is not looking as stellar, and I actually have some reasoning for potentially removing it from the board, getting it off the board and taking some elves with it. So I'll keep that as an option depending on what I draw. Alright, I got an island. That's not bad. Okay, so looking at my mana, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have enough mana to shoot Frost Titan in response to him targeting with Duplicant. And while that does look pretty delicious, and he's going to be committing a lot of mana in a turn or two to cast the Duplicant, it's not really all that great, given the fact that I'm going to be mostly tapped out. Because Winter Orb is certainly the enemy of card drawing, unless you've just got a billion artifacts and Gilded Lotus and copies of it and stuff. So I decide I'm going to attack with the Frost Titan here. And my hope is that he just takes the damage, and I'm able to tap down his forest consequence-free, because I really want to slow his land down. But it does give him the ability, of course, to do some multi-blocking, given that he's got some garbagey creatures. So I decide once I commit to the attack, I decide I'm going to tap down his 4/2 and put him in a situation where he has to commit a bunch of blockers in order to take it down, at least several guys that make mana. Because if he blocks at this thing, I can deal 2 to this, and I can deal 1 and 1 and 2 over here. And or I guess I probably would actually deal, I deal 1 here, 3 here. I guess this thing's a 1/2. I deal 1, 2, 1. Yeah, I could kill his whole board if he blocked with everything. But of course, he does have the option, thanks to the Quirion Ranger, to untap his Sylvan guy, which is a little unfortunate. But at least it does set his mana back a little further, and he blocks this way. And so I have the option to a couple different options. Probably the best option right here would have been to just shoot Draga Warcaller with Nin, and that if I had shot it for 2, he would have drawn 2 cards and gone up to 8, but it would have shrunk both these guys down. This would have died. This thing would have died. He would have drawn 2 cards off of it, taking his hand size all the way up to 10. And that would be solid, because I guess the Frost Titan would live. But the problem is that it uses up my Nin. And I've kind of reached the stage in the game where I feel like I have to just make a big commitment to draw a bunch of cards with Nin and hope that my deck delivers a sweeper to get me out of this, or possibly the Inferno Titan. So with that in mind, I decide that I'm really okay with just taking these creatures off the board. This thing has trample, and these guys just represent more danger if Ezuri is able to use his 5-mana ultimate. So I decide that this also removes the problem of me having to react to his duplicate as well, because it's much easier to remove a Flametongue Kavu that's targeted by a duplicate than a 6 toughness thing. Target or ability. Huh, interesting. So I guess he would have actually had to spend 8 mana due to the Frost Titan's naturally protective ability. I should have probably taken that into account. May have been a mistake to attack with Frost Titan at the time, but who knows. We'll see what it does to him. And so he plays Whisperwood Elemental. I was fully expecting him to just replay Ezuri here, given the fact that he has the ability to untap his guys to give them defense. But instead he plays Whisperwood Elemental, which is a card I haven't really played against much, but it's pretty cool. You get to manifest the top card of your library, and then at any time you can sack it to give all your guys the ability to manifest. It's sort of a nice protection against a sweeper. So maybe he's worried about a sweeper coming, and that's why he played it there. And he bounces a land back to his hand and clamps up his guy. So now he can not only sack it at instant speed, but he can draw 2 when he does that, and then he has to discard. And I decided this is the moment where I need to just pull the trigger. I've got enough red mana available. I'm going to leave 2 blue untapped here as an insurance policy against what I might be drawing. And I can always untap all this extra stuff. And it's going to allow me to draw 6 cards off my Flametongue Kavu. Pretty nice. I'm running out of time here, too. You notice I'm at 4:04, which is a ticking time bomb and a problem. So this needs to be really good. I'm really, really just hoping to hit a sweeper here, which could just blow the game wide open. If I were able to crush all of his creatures here, even if he could sack, I guess it would leave him potentially with 4 2/2s in play. But hopefully I'd draw something to deal with that. And off the 6 cards, boy, do I get some good stuff. I get Steel Hellkite and Inferno Titan, which is absolutely incredible. So nice. Unfortunately, though, I would really, really just love to play Inferno Titan here. It would be the perfect card because I could deal 2 and 1, and I could kill off the Quirion Ranger, and I could kill off this dumb thing, and I'd have this huge 6/6 threat in play that he couldn't deal with. But I didn't draw any red mana, and this dumb Star Compass still only makes blue, and this Cold Steel Heart that I set to blue ages ago doesn't make red, and I can't play the Inferno Titan, which is so frustrating. I remember just kicking myself on this turn. But fortunately, I've got a counterspell in my hand as well as a quasi-counterspell, and I've got Steel Hellkite, which gives green fits. He does have a lot of cards in hand, but he doesn't have a ton of mana, and he probably doesn't have 2 answers to Steel Hellkite that he can deploy in 1 turn. So suddenly the game looks really, really promising, and the only issue just is time. All right. He plays a second forest, taps a bunch of mana, a lot of mana, and he plays Court of Calling for 3. And of course, this is going to fetch either well, almost certainly it's going to get the Reclamation Sage. I guess there's the other one. There's the 2/2 from Tempest or whatever that also kills an artifact. But almost certainly this is getting Reclamation Sage. And we can't let that happen. But fortunately, if you look at his mana, he has the ability to bounce 1 forest to untap 1 green mana producer. And Is It Charm can counterspell for 2 on a non-creature. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to power sync him for 2. Same cost as Lapse, and I'd rather use Lapse because it's more versatile. It can stop anything. And he does not have a Miracle Elvish Spirit Guide or something to pay for that. And so it doesn't resolve. And Hellkite gets to go to work. He gets to attack here. I'm going to take... think about taking 5, but I realized that if I'm going to be sweeping his board, he's going to be able to get a bunch of 2/2s manifested off this guy, which means I'm going to have to take another big hit. And with that in mind, I decided I'm just going to save myself 5 damage by chump blocking with Nin here. I don't really foresee another opportunity to use Nin. I think that I'm going to win the game off of Steel Hellkite and Inferno Titan, and Nin has already run out of uses, and I think saving the 5 life here could make a difference when it comes down to him manifesting a bunch of creatures. It's because he's going to get another one too. All right, free reign with a Hellkite. Unfortunately, I draw another island. Not the end of the world. Hellkite gets to smash in. And of course, preemptively, he sacks his Whisperwood Elemental to give this ability to all of his creatures, which makes sense to me, although I guess he could do it in response to me at least paying 1 mana, or seeing how much mana I do spend on my guy before doing that. But yeah, does he have some delicious targets? There are 3 1s and a Skull Clamp in play. Very, very nice. Hit him for 5. Really running out of time here, unfortunately. I'm going to pay 1, sweep off these guys. It kills a bunch more of his mana. It does give him a bunch of 2/2s, But the 2/2s are not that threatening when I'm still at 17, and I can still continue to play more defenders, and I'm going to play Kefnet. I've got 6 cards in hand, and I unfortunately don't have 4 mana available to bounce, to draw an extra card to use Kefnet as a blocker, but that's okay. I'm just going to play an island. So this means I'm going to get hit for 9, but I'm keeping 2 mana up to Memory Lapse, any attempt he might have to remove the Shivan Hellkite, or sorry, the Steel Hellkite, and that should be getting very close to checkmate. He plays Sword of Fire and Ice, which of course I don't care about at all, given the fact that I can wipe out his whole board in the next 2 turns. And he's still trapped under his orb. He makes his Desperation attack and hits me for 8, which takes me to 9, which is totally fine. Gonna untap another red source. Nice. Draw Flame Slash, but I don't need to even play that because I've got the Hellkite out. So I think for a bit here and realize I'm just going to attack first. Yeah, I thought a little bit about returning a land to my hand or drawing a card off Kefnet to deal 5 damage, but I figure whatever, 59 seconds, it's just going to eat up too much time to do that. Post-combat, spend 0, clear off everything, Flame Slash away his 1/3. Yeah, I guess I could have played my Inferno Titan there as well to burn it up, but I didn't do that. I think just in the interest of time, it takes too long to tap 6 mana. So he plays Mana Crypt, doesn't really do anything right now. He plays a Fyndhorn Elf, which also doesn't do anything, and he plays a Wood Elves, which is just another thing that's gonna die. End of the turn, I'm gonna bounce a land to my hand since I don't have a land in hand to draw one. That turns Kefnet on up to 7. And now I've got double red. I get to slam Inferno Titan down, roast his 2 creatures. I've got a Kefnet that is able to attack next turn. I've got Steel Hellkite to attack and blow up Mana Crypt here, cutting him down to just 2 force against Inferno Titan and Steel Hellkite and an active Kefnet, and I have 2 counter spells in hand, and that is checkmate. I am at 1 second here, and my opponent recognized the fact that the game is over and certainly conceded defeat. And this game would have been over in terms of damage next turn, I think. I think next turn, I just counterspell whatever he does. This turn, I'm attacking him for 5, so he's going to drop down to 15. And then the following attack is going to be 6 plus 5 plus 3 more from Inferno Titan, and I can pump it a little further to deliver the lethal damage. So that is the game. Managed to pull this crazy game out, despite the replay not working, despite all the Winter Orb shenanigans. I felt like this was just a very, very meticulous game and a very interesting demonstration of how you have to take every single turn in a measured fashion against a mono green deck that has Winter Orb in play. Just a perfect usage of resources, except for that idiotic turn when I cast Nin without using Star Compass. But if you look at the amount of stuff that I had to deal with this game and the ordering of threats and stuff, I'm quite proud of how I wound up playing it. And I think that even 1 or 2 choices being different throughout the course of the game could have wound up with a very, very terrible losing position. Using Nin at the wrong time, not bouncing his Winter Orb at the time that I did, not countering the things that I did. There was just a lot of very, very key plays, I think, this whole game. The decision to abrade the Ezuri, I think, was also very decisive, given the fact that I never took any damage off of the trample ability of it. And just overall, a phenomenal game. And I hope you guys enjoyed this game as much as I enjoyed playing it. I hope to have more games featuring Kefnet the Mindful in budget Nin and non-budget Nin soon. See you guys later. Thanks for putting up with all the double video shenanigans. Hope you've stuck around.